Hi everyone, I'm Dr. Katie Snow, and in this video, we're going to talk about the importance of the weekly symptom tracker on your journey during the gut reset program. So as you can see, I have it pulled up. You do have this and probably have already downloaded it, but we just want to go over all the parts of it and why it's so important for us to be doing this journaling at least once a week, but the daily food journal is another document you can download that I think is just going to bring your gut reset program to another level. So why keep your daily food, symptoms, and supplement journal? So there's studies that show that people who journal their food are more likely to succeed on their diet. So there are studies mainly about weight loss diets. However, just in general, when people journal, they're going to be more consistent in their program. I think overall it helps you to become more mindful of your food choices. And of course, this is what's going to make you successful. It also helps with troubleshooting. If you experience symptoms in response to certain foods, you may be able to trace it back to that specific food. So I know we've talked about that in other videos, how we're still, even with the list that we're giving you of acceptable foods, there may still be a food in there that is healthy, but is causing some issues. And so if we're journaling every day what we ate, and then we look at the next day and we may be having a symptom or say like a headache or nausea, itching, more histamine response, we can look at the daily journal from the day before and see what foods do we eat, or maybe it's the day before that. But you should start being able to draw a pattern if there is an offending food, if you're keeping these foods journaled. You can also ask us to look at your food logs on the coaching calls that we'll be doing. So just make sure, again, if you have this readily available, it's going to make those calls go smoother if you did have a question. And then it's also important for keeping records. So most people don't remember what they ate or how they felt 3 days ago. So there's no other way to keep track of it all without writing it down. And you'll also become more aware of your body, your symptoms, and the patterns that come along with it. So for example, we know many people who think it's completely normal to be clearing their throats all the time because they've done it all their life. And that's not normal. And you shouldn't be dealing with a symptom like that. You shouldn't have mucus every day of your life. You shouldn't have bad breath every day of your life. You shouldn't have, a headache every day of your life. So the whole point of this gut reset program is for us to help you help yourself to identify what's creating this. We've had patients come in our office and, they say the last 10 years, I've had, a rash under my armpit. And we say, oh my goodness, like 10 years, like, what took you so long, to dive in and try to figure out what was going on? I mean, that's completely miserable to live having a rash, under your arm for 10 years. And so again, writing this stuff down is going to help us know also when something does clear up, when you start noticing if you've dealt with a symptom and then you start the gut reset program and we've eliminated a lot of the foods out, and we can see like, wow, this symptom I've dealt with for weeks or months or years is now gone. And so then when you start the reintroduction of different foods in that phase, I would continue doing these weekly symptom trackers and the daily food journal so that you can see, when you introduce something, oh, wait, that symptom came back. It's going to help you identify it. So we have, this weekly symptom tracker that you'll fill out on day one, and then every single week. Ideally, if you can do it the same day and the same time, generally. So say if you start this program on a Monday, then, the following Monday would be the best time. And if it's in the evening, then it's just going to be, a consistent habit to start doing this. So it's all about creating habits. And then you'll probably just want to continue to do this on your journey. And when you get the gut reset program, when you start journaling your foods and symptoms daily right away, so you can be aware of your current diet, you're going to start seeing oh wow, like this food, I felt amazing, eating this food. And so just starting right when you start the gut reset program and make it a habit and continuing it, you are definitely going to see, being able to note, hey, this is better, or hey, this is worse. And I really think that you'll make a good habit out of this. So in your weekly symptom tracker, you'll weigh yourself once a week. You'll write down the date, your weight, and check your symptoms along with their severity for over the past week. So each time you pull one of these out or print one of these out, you'll date it, but you're going to be looking at what you dealt with the previous 7 days. And then for the daily journal, you'll write down how you feel in the morning, the times of your meals, what you ate, and the amounts that you ate. Then, if you feel any symptoms throughout the day, especially the symptoms that you checked in your weekly log, write down your symptoms, the time that you felt them, how long they last, and the severity of the symptoms. If you can't write it down right away for any reason, some details are better than no details at all, but write it down as accurately as possible as soon as you can or as soon as you remember. So those are just some good tips. I do want to run through this weekly symptom tracker just so you can see it all and we can go over the different moving parts. But again, you'll have your name and date. And this is for, you may have you and your spouse both doing this together so you don't get you guys' copies mixed up. So name and date. You have your main health concerns and the severity. So if it's headaches and they're just horrible, out of, 0 to 10, 10 being the worst, headaches, and then the number 10. And then as you go and the headaches improve, that way you can know, by tracking this, the number, if it improves. Or say, you've had, a sour stomach or, gallbladder pain, you would write that and then the number on a scale of 0 to 10 to according how the severity of that symptom is. And then this is once a week, but how did you feel when you woke up this morning? We want to track that week to week. Did you feel refreshed? Did you have more energy than you did the week before? And again, you're going to track that weight once a week. And so you'll write that in the box. And then here, you're going to check the symptoms you're feeling and their severity. So again, 10 worst or most bothersome, and then 0 being non-existent. And so we have it broke down into gut symptoms. So you see acid reflux, cramping, bloating, gas, abdominal pain, belching, nausea, indigestion. So just go ahead, and even if it's a 0, just check it. We want to make sure, you fill it all out. And this is a great way if you're working with a practitioner and he wants to follow this as well. This is great. When we have patients come in the office and they're able to bring any kind of a food journal or symptom tracker, any documentation, it really helps us to work with that patient and really be able to understand their case better. And the person, we just know they're more compliant if they're doing this. And then we have respiratory symptoms. So we have, mucus level. If you're having that mucus in the back of your nose or back of your throat, nasal congestion, coughing, runny nose, sneezing, itchy eyes, wheezing, shortness of breath. And then skin problems. So those under eye circles, or if it's puffy under your eyes, eczema, hives. And then it continues. So this is a 2-page document. And so you'll see skin problems continue. You have rash, acne, dull skin, dry skin, excessive oiliness. So that is an issue that we see when someone is having a food they shouldn't have in their diet. It's just a real oily scalp and a real oily face. And then other skin problems, you may just want to list what it is and then have it where you can check 0 to 10. And then pain. So we've grouped together headache, joint pain, and muscle aches. And then fatigue. And then there's different, things under the fatigue: energy crash, excessive hunger, dizziness slash lightheadedness, heart palpitations. And then we have cognitive and mood. And then there's depression, low mood, anxiety, nervousness, irritability, brain fog, forgetfulness, and then the urogenital symptoms. And so that's frequent urination, difficulty urinating, pain during urination, urinary tract infections, itchiness, yeast infections, pelvic cramps, or other cramping. So you can see it's pretty much all the symptoms that we see when we're working with a patient who's had some gut issues or maybe some food sensitivities in their diet. And then at the very bottom, food cravings. So you would write down the name of the food. So if it's chocolate, and then just put a little check mark from 0 to 10, like what that intensity is of the craving for that food. So again, we're going to see a decrease in some of these cravings as we're pulling different foods. A lot of people have very intense cravings for a food that they're actually sensitive to. We see that quite often. And then other symptoms. So if it's a symptom that wasn't listed in the list, write that down and again, track it. So this is going to be such a big help on your journey during the Gut Reset program. We're so glad that you've joined us. We're super excited to see the results. Can't wait to hear your testimonies. And I'll see you next time. I'm Dr. Katie Snow, helping you transform your health naturally.